Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order, this large meeting to order of the joint meeting of the Stewart City Commission, the Community Redevelopment Agency, and the Community Redevelopment Board for 27 January. Roll call, please.
We're missing the Vice Mayor.
Mayor Rich,
Here.
Vice Mayor Collins, Commissioner Clark,
Here.
Commissioner Giobi,
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
For the Community Redevelopment Agency, I have Chair Rich,
Here.
Vice Mayor Collins, Board Member Clark,
Here.
Board Member Giobi,
Here.
Board Member Reed,
Here.
Board Member Breckville,
Here.
and for the Community Redevelopment Board, I have Vice Chair Breckville,
Here.
Board Member James,
Here.
Board Member Monero,
Here.
Board Member McChrystal,
Present.
Board Member Moser, Board Member Scherer,
Here.
and Board Member Whalen.
So welcome to our 4 new board members. Sure. Okay. I hope you find your service on this board interesting and rewarding. And the harder you work at it, the more valuable will be your contribution, both to this board and to the city and the CRA. So thank you. And who will be administering the oath, Mr. Baggett? The Pledge of, I'm sorry. We have to do the Pledge of Allegiance first. Okay, please stand.
Somebody's buzzing.
I pledge allegiance to And now we have the advisory board member oath of office.
All right. Will all the advisory board members please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me?
Even the old ones?
New ones? Huh?
Just the new ones? or-
All of them, it's on an annual basis.
Oh, right, okay.
You're reinstating them.
Notice that side standing up.
Mark is
They're the
on it.
commission.
They've
So-
already been sworn.
So,
He's got to.
and they've
You
got
get
4.
sworn at.
All right.
Well, that too.
So I state your name.
Frederick James Slate. Mark Frank.
Am qualified under the Constitution,
Qualified under the Constitution,
laws of Florida,
laws of Florida,
and the Code of Ordinances for the City of Stuart, Florida,
and the Code of Ordinances for the City of Stuart, Florida.
to serve as a member of the Community Redevelopment Board,
Serves as a member of the Community Redevelopment Board,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of an advisory board member
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of an advisory board member
on which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Baggett.
Welcome back.
Could we get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a move by Board Member Collins and a second by Board Member Clark. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Do we have any comments from the public on non-agenda related items? Suzanne, do we have any?
I do, I have one.
Approve the minutes.
Did we approve? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
I move approval of the minutes that are in items number, just do them individually, Susie?
Yes, please.
I'll second.
We have to do them individually?
Yes, 10, 28, 24, thank you.
We have a motion by Board Member Clark and a second by Board Member Giobi. All in favor?
Aye.
Um,
Move approval of the minutes of 11/25/2024 for the CRA.
We have a motion by Board Member Clark.
Second.
A second by,
CRA,
who was that? The Vice Mayor?
CRA, has to be a CRA. Your
All in favor?
CRA.
Mark's on the CRA.
Okay, I see, okay. I was just thinking it was a
The
commission.
second
so-
was by Board Member
Breckville.
Breckville.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Mark was all.
Pardon me. Thank you, Board Member Clark, for keeping me in order. Now do we have comments from the public on non-agenda items? Suze?
Yes, I do have Mr. Robert Hamilton.
Mr. Hamilton, I see you sitting there. Good afternoon, Mr. Hamilton.
I just wanted to take a moment and talk to you about just coming here, just walking here. On 3rd Street, I'm sorry, Robert Hamilton, 311 South 3rd Street. Just coming here, the bottleneck that happens in the circle. And I think somebody will eventually get hurt there. When a train goes by, cars can't go north or south, and it all gets buckled up. The other issue with the circle is they just do not pay attention to the pedestrian crosswalks. You really have to be on your toes going through there. And I think that would fall under CRA. And I think that would be very helpful to the community. That's my opinion. A lot of times people wait until a catastrophic event happens, like what happened to our place, and now we're dealing with that situation. I wouldn't want to see that happen to anybody else in the community. I just think it's an issue at the circle, and I think there are funds available through the CRA for that. Just a suggestion, just a thought, public comment. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hamilton, are you referring to Confusion Corner or right here, Joan Jefferson?
Actually both, but right here, because I walk this one more.
Okay.
And what happens is when the train goes by, everybody huddles up and the cars can't go. Then when the cars are flowing, you better pay very close attention coming up to that crosswalk, because someone's going to get hit. And then we know what happens after that. It's going to cost us even more money in litigation. It's just a thought. I thought it would be something that you guys could discuss. It'd be important. It's public safety. And it's our tax dollars. With that said, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Suzanne?
No, sir.
Okay, comments by board members. We'll start, I'll start with you, Board Member Reed.
My comments were just to the new board members and fellow board members, welcome. My advice to you guys, there's 3 things when it comes to the city of Stuart that I particularly pay attention to, and it comes to the City of Stuart Muni Code, and its Code of Ordinances, the Comprehensive Plan, and the Land Development Code. Those 3 documents are very beneficial, and if you're a computer person, Control F as well. So you can search it and you can narrow it down. And this one's for Lee. So when it comes to Sunshine, I can talk to my board appointee and no other appointees, or I can talk to them.
You can talk to them, except on items with, I guess, 2 of them. I know Vice Chair.
CRA members can't talk to CRA members.
And there's only 2.
Members can't talk to CRB members. 2 of the CRB members are members of CRA. So what do they call those?
Yeah.
Venn diagram.
I need a diagram. That's what I need.
There's a Venn diagram. So
Okay.
you can't talk to the board you're on, but you can talk to boards that you're not on.
You can talk in general.
You can talk to them, just nothing about items that are going to come up,
Right.
on the
Right.
agenda or come before the CRA. Now, I would caution you, you're outside after a CRA meeting speaking to one of them, people are going to assume you're talking about something that came up, but just in abundance of caution, I mentioned that. But yeah, so there's non-voting members, here from the CRB that are not on the CRA. That we have a joint meeting today, but you're not on the same board as CRB. Just the 2 at will or at large, I'm sorry, members on the CRA.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Did you
Board
get
members?
your
Yeah,
question answered? You
yeah.
could talk to Mr. James, who's
Yes.
my appointment. You could talk to any one of them individually.
Just not me. But I don't want to talk to you anyway, Sean, so who cares?
Makes it easy.
Right? I
Well,
just gotta
and
work on
there's-
mine.
And whoever.
And you have to appoint one other at some,
Yeah,
No,
right.
I think. the
one
only-
other at
I
large.
thought you had an appointment, that's what I thought.
Not on this. I think that's an at-large appointment that's for the CRB.
The
The only
CRB
thing
will appoint.
I have.
The
I have-
CRB will appoint.
I have not appointed somebody to the East Stewart
It's-
committee, because that's the historical committee, because
Yeah,
I hadn't
right.
found somebody who had a historical background. I thought would want to do it. So that's where I've appointed.
I think Mary has a list of interested people.
Yeah.
So when will the CRB make that second,
at their next meeting.
Okay,
Know when it is.
February 4th.
Or people who you can contact.
Board Member Giobi, do you have any comments this evening?
Yes, well, Sean, as always, covered a lot, but I'd also like to thank him back, thank back the older members renewing. Thank you for continuing to support the city. Thank you to the new members. We welcome you aboard and hope you enjoy your stay on this board. And we really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Board Member Clark.
Yes, I'd like to leave off where Mr. Hamilton started as a member of the public comment, that, number one, just thank those members of the public and our community who are not elected officials, but who want to serve on a board like this. We appreciate your interest, and this year is somewhat unique. We have 2, 4, 5 new people starting off at the same time, so you know that you have, like Sean said, a great deal of knowledge to gain from looking at documents and history and learning from staff as to what's going on, and of course, putting your own vision and your background into the future of Stewart. So that is so important, and I appreciate that. And again, going back to Mr. Hamilton, one of my things that I'm concerned with, I'm a transportation planner by trade. That's what my master's in urban planning is about. But having complete street networks, having connections, having walkability is very important. And I know that I've talked to staff, and I think that coming up with plans to use CRA funds to do some of these projects that will help us to make it easier for people to reach certain areas within our CRA and to get along with some redevelopment activities that need to happen is very important. So Rome wasn't built in a day, but there's lots of ideas and projects that we can do. And I really appreciate everybody wanting to serve and wanting to learn and to make sure that our city stays a wonderful place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
And safe.
And safe.
Board Member Collins.
Yes, I just wanted to also thank each of you for being willing to do this and taking time away from your businesses and your families, and just encourage you that what you're doing is incredibly important, that you are helping guide the decisions that we will make, how we will spend taxpayer money, and basically guide the type of city that 20,000 plus human beings dwell in. So you guys are the front line on making the decisions in probably the hottest area in the CRB of where redevelopment will happen. So thank you for serving. Please show up to your meetings. It has been an issue in the past. So thank you.
Board Member Breckville.
Yes, I had a couple things. One, I wanted to piggyback on Robert's situation because I've said before that the way the traffic flow goes out of the city at the tracks here on the Sailfish Circle is that those cars have to stop on the tracks and wait for the traffic that's going this way. And we need some kind of signage there to tell people that that's what's happening, because they're in the middle of the intersection and on the middle of the tracks before they realize what's going on. So I wanted to follow up on that because I think I kind of mentioned that about a year ago, and I think it's something we need to look at. The second thing I would just, this is a great group. It's a great opportunity, and I think from that standpoint, I think it's really great to serve on this. I've enjoyed my year plus on this, and but two things I want to mention relative to that. One, ultimately we serve the city, but we have to recognize, the needs of the commission as well. So that's one thing, and I think we want to still continue to keep our focus on return on investment. The CRA is different than the city in general. Our dollars are earned differently than the city in general, and I think it's important to continue to focus on return on investment. We started to do this last year, and Pinal gave us some numbers on returns on investment, but I think it's our job as stewards of the CRA money to spend that wisely that generates future returns to the city and to the community. So that's all.
Thank you. Board Member McChrystal.
I have no comments at this time.
New board member, Mr. Jeff Manera. Do you have any comments for us this evening? Sometimes listening is the best way to start.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask Mr. Manera to just tell us a tidbit about himself?
That's a good idea.
I have a commercial real estate and business brokerage firm here locally. Been in and out of Stewart since late 20. And I live right on Indian Street.
New board member, Mr. Frederick James. Apparently, board member Clark would like a brief introduction of you, who you
My
are,
name is
as
Frederick
well
James.
as any comments.
My name is Frederick James. I pastor St. Paul AME Church in Stewart, Florida. The only comment that I have today would be this word that I'd like to offer. Says that you are the light of the world, city that's set on a hill, not be hid. So I come to join this board. Pray that the weight of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New board member, Mr. Clay Shearer.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the kind words of wisdom. Well, appreciate that. I look forward to trying more. At this point in my life,
New board member, Mr. Scott Whalen.
Scott Whalen. Candidate.
What town in Canada? City?
Port Ellis.
What?
Port
Where's that? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Board member, Ms. Moser, do you have any comments?
Thank you. I still feel a little winded from racing in here. As I've been thinking about 2025 and you know, our board this year, and thinking about the city, the thing that keeps coming to my mind is trees. And I bring that to you today because within the CRA and just within the city as a whole, I've noticed some new developments that have been built. Some are open now, and they're missing something. They're missing shade trees. So I want to challenge us all this year. I know that folks get really heated about parking, and we're not going to give anybody any passes on parking. I want to challenge us not to give any passes on the shade trees. If you've got landscape architects involved in your designs from the beginning, they're going to make sure those trees are placed in a place where they'll stay healthy and they'll provide shade. And the reason that's so important to me is because shade makes places more comfortable. It makes places more walkable. It makes places more valuable. And they're just, I mean, you all have heard the presentations on the US 1 street tree or shade tree study. You know all the benefits. So yeah, that's what I would just like to challenge us all this year, as to think about our trees and how they impact our city. Because when we let, you know, one thing pass here and one thing pass there, then we end up with entire corridors that are hot and uncomfortable to be on. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really have no comments, but we've had two comments that make suggestions that sensibly should be part of our discussion on item number 5. And certainly a greater commitment in terms of effort, and perhaps funding for more trees is valuable. And I actually, Mr. Hamilton, had written in my book for the safety of the crossings and intersections is yes. I mean, we've been dealing with, Ms. Moser and I have been dealing with an issue in another part of town. And, you know, it's one thing to drive through these intersections, but if you want to be terrified, go stand and by Confusion Corner for 30 minutes or stand. Yeah, it's a whole different world when you walk through them or bike through them. So I appreciate your concern and hope we can work on this and make some progress. Okay. Action items. Number 4, Mr. Baggett, will you read item number 4 for our consideration, please?
Resolution number 11-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city to actively pursue a Florida Department of Environmental Protection Trail Town designation through its Office of Greenways and Trails in collaboration with the Martin County Office of Tourism and Marketing, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Do we have a staff presentation on this? It doesn't sound like it, Jim.
I will speak loudly. There we go.
Oh, there, yeah.
It's on, Jim.
First of all, congratulations to the new board members. We appreciate your service, we really do. And since we're still in January, Happy New Year to
Why
everyone.
don't you introduce yourself in
My
your
name is
position?
Jim Kuralski, Community Services Director for the City of Stuart. And I'm here to present resolution number 11, 2025, which is an opportunity for our community to become a trail town with the state of Florida. I put together a brief presentation for you that will explain what Trail Town is. Trail towns are a part of the state's effort to integrate recreation, ecotourism, and local economic development. Within the Florida Greenways and Trail Systems Priority Corridor programs, trail towns act as hubs that connect trail users to nearby resources and attractions, promoting sustainable travel along the corridors. These designated towns align with the program by ensuring trails are accessible, enhancing the user experience, and encouraging stewardship of natural and cultural resources. They also support the goal of creating a connected statewide trail network with local businesses and communities benefiting from increased visitation. Trail towns are not standalone communities. They're linked together with long-distance trail corridor. These users may be passing through a town on a day trip or longer trek, or may park along access other trails such as paddling trails. Trail users want to explore interesting and vibrant places in their travels and need services that the town provides. Basic characteristics of a successful trail town include working with neighborhood communities, encourages trail users off-trail to explore the town, illuminates clear and safe connections, welcomes trail users by making the town information readily available, educates businesses on the economic benefits, promotes a trail-friendly town character, integrates the trail into the town's culture with annual events and festivals, and connects residents safely to work through schools, parks, and shopping. These are some of the trail towns that exist in the state of Florida currently. And as you can see, there's about 20, and I would love to be able to stencil in the city of Stuart right underneath Sanford. We're a natural choice for a trail town because we feature a commercial district next to our trail areas. We have quality trails already in place. We have existing recreational programming, and our benefits are it will increase ecotourism, assists in positive branding, and also assists in economic development. As you may know, the Community Services Department through the Recreation Division is now sponsoring various ecotourism, natural recreational programs, and wellness programs that really kind of dovetail this whole program together. We have different fitness programs and wellness programs like yoga on the river and Zumba on the river and all these things. All of these areas would be a part of our trail system, as well as you're probably familiar with our Haney Creek walks that we have on the first Tuesday of each month at 9 o'clock. We've been running that very successfully as well. So Trail Town really complements these existing recreational programs that we're currently producing. So my recommendation is to adopt Resolution 11-2025 to apply to become a trail town within the state of Florida. Any questions?
Jim?
Yes.
Jim, I have a question. You know, in looking through this material on trail towns, and going through it, it appears that what we're talking about is creating a recreational environment specifically along trails. And according to the material I read, we're supposed to be in general connection with a major trail or a trail that connects to a major trail.
Yes.
So my question would be, you know, are we committed to that? I mean, I think it's great if we can do that, but I don't think this is something that they're just going to let us put a name on it like, greatest small town in America or something, and that's it. I think we have to devote resources. Now, so my first question is, what major trail are we connecting to?
And the answer to that is that we're going to be evaluated by this program to determine the exact trails within Martin County. So they have come to us through the Tourism Development Council to find out if we would be ready to go ahead and apply and then be evaluated so that we can identify those specific trails within our community.
Well, looking at what is out there, it looks like the closest major trail that we would dovetail with is actually at the end of Green River Parkway and up in the Savannas. And that's great, because it takes us right by Haney Circle, and it takes us, by the Haney Trails, and it takes us by, some other trails we've got. And it actually could make downtown Stewart, at least the Flagler section, a key starting point for that. But I think we need to, because we're gonna have to have support from who's ever in between to get the designation, I think. If we're connecting to a trail that's, in St. Lucie County or something, we're going through Martin County to get it, I think we're gonna require the support of Martin County. And
We do, and Martin County was the one who approached us with this entire
They
concept.
came to us.
yeah, so I just think that, we need to dovetail and be aware of that what we're committing to and asking for. I think it's pretty cool. The only other comment, because I'd like to see not only the trail and the walking and potentially even coordinating that with events that we have in terms of 5Ks and marathons and those kind of things. Maybe we could have a portion of that go on the trail, because that's a major drawing point. But the other thing that I would like to see is if we could get some kayaking type thing, if we could use the river as part of our trail, so that we can pull the river into the trail process and make that a key point for our trail.
I understand your comment, Mr. Breckville. As far as the expense side of things, the only thing that there would be required at this point would be some signage, in which I think I'm not talking for Pinal, that they agreed that that would be a part of their program. And I spoke to Milton Leggett as far as any kind of additional resources needed for the program. And at this time, the original, what they've given to us is that it's very minimal, if any, besides the signage. I would hope to be able to go before the Tourism Development Council and get some money for collateral material so that we can actually, once it's designated, illustrate the actual trail itself, like we did with our cultural history map.
Well, and plus, if it's in the CRA, we can use some CRA funds for that then, probably.
Let's use TDC money.
What?
Let's use TDC money.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, no, yeah, I'm good for that, but we have to spend some of that CRA money.
I'm joking.
Board Member Collins?
So TDC, Narissa came to you.
Nearest staff, yes.
Does this open the TDC up to more grants? Is this something that the city would be opening
That's
itself
kind of
up
my
to more
hope
grants?
with this whole thing, is let's get something started so that when we're going back to the TDC, that we've got an open door to additional
Why
programs.
did she come to you is what I'm asking. What was the,
Well, I think
was
it
it
was.
grant possibilities in the future? Was that the
No, it
conversation?
wasn't. It was really that they were looking to be able to participate in this program as an overall benefit to Martin County. And Port Salerno, I believe, is participating as well. So they wanted to make sure, and we're kind of ready-made for it because we have a commercial district, sort of turnkey. So it's really kind of low-hanging fruit for us to be able to adopt the program, because our wilderness kind of runs right through our commercial district to some degree. So it fits all their criteria.
Okay. Is there any expectation of financial involvement?
No.
Okay.
Wow. Board Member Joby?
Part of this presentation has like a 6-page checkoff of things that they would be looking at to see if we, meet the requirements. One thing that I thought would actually be good for downtown is it says that it would be beneficial to have a store or some sort of face front that has hiking gear, things that are geared toward the people who are doing this type of hiking, biking, all the things I don't do. Very athletic. So I don't think we have such a store in downtown, but it would be a nice opportunity for someone to, it would be a nice opportunity for someone to think of opening that business once this gets rolling. Another reason to bring the people between downtown and the trails.
Board Member Breckville.
Just a quick comment about that. Pinal can probably pull out some old drawings of some pop-ups that were scheduled to be in Flagler Park. And those pop-ups were designed to be just what you're talking about. Facilities for, sunglasses. They weren't big stores. They were just little
Oh, like a
pop-ups.
kiosk.
Yeah, little kiosk types thing. You could put a couple of them together, and that would be ideal to promote something down there for that purpose.
And real small business, everybody it would be attainable for the small business owner to do that.
And they were also talking about a kayak rental place at the end of the Flagler Park there, potentially to bring that into play as well. That was in a drawing that we did probably 8 or 10 years ago.
I'm sure, I don't know if the board is familiar with the art and history map that we did about 5 years ago. It's very, very accurate, and people are able to do self-guided tours and understand what our history and what our art sculptures are and all our murals and everything. And we see this as being a part of that umbrella as we build our portfolio of activities and resources within the city.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah,
Board Member Clark.
thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Kralski, I was gonna bring that up because you mentioned the cultural aspects. And I know that we've had that, in the past, and of course, we have the advisory committee, especially from East Stewart, and they're working on some things, and I know that in Martin County, there's a heritage committee that they're working on, and that's considered for the state of Florida, they have what they call the Black History Trail, but there's also, some things here that can be added and put in, to that trail idea that highlights, things in the city of Stewart, so definitely, if those who are not aware of the cultural thing, or if Pinal can send out, something to the members so that they're aware of some of the things in the past. Jim mentioned the dolphins or turtles or whatever they are, they have things on the history of it, and, the Stewart Water Tower and so many things that are affiliated with the old downtown as well as the extended, CRA, so, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it'd be a good effort, and I'm gonna make a motion that we adopt resolution number 11-2025. That's my motion, if anybody wants to second it for,
Second.
thank you.
We have a motion by Board Member Clark and a second by Board Member Collins. Is there any public comment on this issue? Suzanne,
I have none.
you have none? Any further discussion by the board? Board Member Giobbe.
I just have one question. Vice Commissioner Collins had mentioned about the, any monetary toward the city. So in looking at some of the things there are, what they're looking for, the amenities and restrooms, trailheads, water fountains, bike racks, bike repair stations, boat docks and launches. So some of those things we don't have, and so where would the monies come to entice people, or at least get us through the process where we would be considered?
Commissioner Giobbe, they're not required. Once the trail is designated, we can look at those things, but I wasn't under the impression that we were going to recruit or build anything specifically to support that.
If I could just chime in on that briefly, if I were to reference Haney Creek does have a trailhead. It's got water facilities, it's got bathroom facilities, it's also got the parking and boardwalk facilities over on the Green River Park side. If in fact the trail were to lead down to Fraser Creek, we have the docking and the boat dock and the boat ramp facilities. On Channel Avenue, we have already a street end dedicated park that's got a kayak launch on it. And so I think that the intention behind it is to start by trying to put together a map identifying where these amenities are, and then the ultimate goal is to kind of connect them through a pedestrian trailway ultimately, so that someone could pass from the north to the south all the way through Stewart without having to be on a car possibly if they wanted to walk or hike or bike, whatever it is. Florida also has some significant geographic barriers because of the way the roads and the bridges that go over the water, so there are only 3 ways to pass if you're coming from the north, but either way.
So most of these would be funded either through the tourist or the CRA.
I would think private business would do
Well,
it.
right now.
Would fund the
nothing would-
signage?
Right now, nothing would be funded without us coming back to the board. So the only thing that Jim's asking for right now is a commitment to participate in it, and then the board would have the discretion to do as much or as little as it wants. But you also have a half-cent sales tax that's going to be coming forward,
Right.
and money's gonna be generated that we can't spend that money outside of the city limits. So we're not in a position to buy swaths of land out, on the Arthur Bluffs, but rather we will be, and because there's so little vacant land left in the city, it's more likely that we will be enhancing those green spaces that we have and this kind of thing. So
Correct.
Right. No, I think it's a great idea. I didn't realize those amenities were not really required, but they certainly would be helpful
Yeah.
in them evaluating our application.
Board Member Collins. I'm sorry, Board Member Moser.
Thank you. I'm hearing something of a theme from you all, talking about safety improvement and connectivity, and I just want to use this as an opportunity, think of this as an opportunity to make those improvements. Excuse me, I also looked at the 5-page checklist, and something that stood out to me was the safety category. And I just want to preface this with, I walk and bike the city a lot with my kids in a bike trailer behind me. And I just want to go through a couple of these. Does your town have wide sidewalks? Wide's classified as 10 to 12 feet. No. Does your town have protected bike lanes? No. Is your downtown safely navigable by foot or bicycle? We've already heard from the audience, and I can also verify that's a no. And does your trail town have emergency callbacks? Is no, although I can say working in trails, that's not something that's super common anywhere. I still think that this is a great program for us to join, but I do want to challenge us. If we're going to join it, let's actually make the effort, get working, try to make these safety improvements, connectivity improvements, and also possibly increasing our trail network so that we can, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to bike with my kids to the beach or 2 miles away, but I would never do that the way that our roads are designed right now. Even through downtown, where we would expect everyone to be able to bike. I can tell you that my 1-year-old and I came downtown to meet my husband and my son for ice cream on our bikes about a week ago on Osceola, and 4 times I was cut off in the crosswalk by a car. There's not that many intersections. That's almost every intersection. So just food for thought, some feedback for you all. I still think it's a great program for us to join and to use as the momentum to start making some improvements.
Perhaps just can act as motivation to accomplish these goals. Board Member Collins.
I was just going to ask, and I don't want this to be interpreted that I'm against this in any way, but if there's some kind of sunset on this or revisit that we could add in if for some reason we find that this is
Not working.
burdensome or not working, instead of just living
I
forever.
think anything is possible. It's not like we're committing ourselves to a work agenda on this. We're really just
Right.
looking to apply to qualify at this point. The program is relatively new. As you saw, there was only about 20 cities. Really not that well known yet. And-
You're going to
and-
come back and bring us some kind of update as it evolves?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
I'm good.
sure.
Thank you.
Board Member Brechko.
Yeah, I'm really in favor of this if we're gonna make it a real thing. It's like I said before, if all we're gonna do is throw a few dollars out there because we're gonna spend them and waste them, I don't think we should do that. But if we're gonna make this a integral part of coming to Stewart, and especially the CRA, then I think we need to consider doing it right. We need to create a trail that people are going to come to from other places to go on that trail, not a road that we're going to put in so that we have better traffic locally because, and then people might happen to come in that way. I think, at least the way I read this thing, this is a program that is designed to be a go-to type of place. It's ecotourism. We've talked about that in the past. You know, it fosters less traffic. It's foot traffic, but less traffic. And so, you know, I think if we do this, we should commit to doing it as a project. If it's successful, it's going to generate a fairly significant return on investment to the downtown, I think, because it will create significant value. But anyway.
Board Member Giobi.
I agree with Board Member Breckville, and I agree with Board Member Moser. If we are going to do this, let's do it right, and I think the safety issues are the first. Let's take care of those first, not an afterthought, not once we put everything in place. We're just not going to be a sign that says we are this, but we're really not. Let's do the safety first. Let's spend the money on that. This way, even if we don't do it, all of the traveling around town for the locals and anyone else would still be safe. We need that. It's important. Thank you.
Which is all a great segue to item number 5.
Right.
We'll be able to talk to you about in a moment.
So, Jim.
Almost like it was
Any other
designed that way.
Jim?
Yes, sir,
so
Mayor.
This is meant to be part of a very large network in the state of Florida, right?
Yes.
How many miles of trails are currently?
I wouldn't even want to tell you that or guess at
The
this
idea
point.
is
Part of this is doing an inventory of our assets so that we can give you a really
Right.
solid
That
answer.
was my next one. So the
Yes.
point is to be able to get on the system, enter Martin County on the north side, for
Mhm.
example, move through Martin County, which includes a small segment of the city, and then exit Martin County on the same network.
Mhm.
So
Step one would be,
my question was, how many miles of trail does the city currently have that would qualify, and you're saying you don't know, which is
yeah,
fine.
the first step would be a mapping exercise of our
Right.
existing inventory. Once we get the mapping exercise done, I mean, I can tell you off the top of your head, you know, you got Haney Creek, we can do some rough math there, but there might be some interconnective opportunities that we haven't really even thought about yet.
Yeah, I would think it would be a fairly meandering
Yeah.
route through the
Yeah.
city.
Step two in my mind is to being able to illustrate that like we did with that art and history map. So that there's a piece of collateral that will educate people. And then thirdly, we can get behind it and promote it with some sort of video and be able to go ahead and publicize that video out there on the ecotourism channels that we have.
Does the trail system include
Visit
Hutchinson
Florida.
Island?
Yeah.
Visit
Beach?
Florida.
It does?
If you go to Google Maps and you highlight the bike trail portion of the Google Maps, it will light up for you
Okay.
the green lines, and you can kind of see
Okay.
those on here. Well, the green lines, for example, in this situation, show Green River Parkway as a trail, and it shows coming over the Roosevelt Bridge, but as soon as it gets to Stewart, it stops because Martin County had identified it. It shows Sewell's Point Bridge and out on Hutchinson Island as a trail where the sidewalks are.
Right.
But we have a 6-foot wide sidewalk the entire length of Green River Parkway that's 50 feet away from the
Right.
road. But if you look, for example, on Google Maps here, you can see where it's identified north of the Jensen Beach Boulevard, but on the south side of Jensen Beach Boulevard, where it's in the city, it's not. And again, that was a county road and a county project. I don't know if it just hasn't been updated or whatever, but kind of the point of this grouping of it is to get everybody to come together to identify these trails because they aren't mapped, and if you're not very familiar with them, nobody knows where they are, and the purpose is to identify them so people can get some exercise and utilize them.
Now, someone also mentioned water, and it does say that paddling trails are part of this, so that's certainly an opportunity we can take advantage of in the city. This would be a great benefit. I mean, I love to bring people into the county or the city on bike or foot, but if, as Ms. Moser suggests, we really work on this, and Ms. Board Member Giobi, we really work on developing this and paying attention to safety, the residents are gonna love it and take advantage of it more than anyone. So I'm glad the county has approached us and we have this opportunity.
Mayor,
No other comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Mayor Rich?
Yes.
And Commissioner Reed?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Baggett, item 5 for our consideration, please.
It's not a resolution or an ordinance.
No, that's right.
Discussion and deliberation of the CRA 5-year capital improvement plan.
So, this is, I guess it's up to us to decide how to structure this discussion.
I do have a presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Panal Gandhi Savdas, CRA Director for the record. Welcome to the new board members. I look forward to working with all of you, and I'm available anytime if you would like to meet with me after this meeting. I'd be happy to sit down and go through the CRA projects and everything that we've been working on. I just do want to give a little brief background of what a CRA is, because we do have some new members. So I'll walk you through that and some of the projects that have come up in the past years. So what is a CRA? It's a special district created through Florida statute's requirement within the city, where we initiate projects and programs to revitalize the blighted areas. We use the tax increment financing to fund the projects with the goal to improve the overall quality of our area. Both Martin County and City of Stewart general funds contributes to the TIF that we reinvest back into the community. The goal is to continue reinvesting our TIF revenue that we get every year. When we don't invest, then we don't get to leverage any future tax revenue that we get from redevelopment. So it's important that we identify projects and continue to invest into our CRA. The City of Stewart CRA is generally bounded by Northeast Baker Road, which is to the north, Monterey Road to the south, Palm Beach Road to the east, and Federal Highway to the west, which makes up about 20% of the city. So over the years, we've used TIF revenue and grant to fund projects like Kiwanis Park parking lot and construction, Osceola Street parking lot, redesign of MLK Boulevard, Fraser Creek improvements. We've done various street resurfacing projects. We did the East Stewart welcome sign, Riverwalk shade structure. All these are listed in your agenda package, so I'm not going to go through each one, but we've done numerous projects in the CRA since it was reestablished in 1998. Some other projects, very well-known project, Colorado Avenue, which was a complete street project. We used TIF revenue, and we received grant for that project. We've done a lot of streetscape projects, Kindred and Johnson Avenue, that was done in 2015, 2017. We did that project through CRA, and we received grant for that project also. Green bike lanes on Colorado, Federal Highway median improvement projects. We've done resurfacing projects in East Stewart, Riverwalk, handrail replacement, and Shepherd Park improvements. Some of the projects that are in progress are downtown undergrounding and streetscape, Seminole Streetscape Project, Project Lift, which is a demolition and new construction in the East Stewart community, Guy Davis Community Park improvements, MLK Streetscape Project, which is in progress and in design, Dixie Highway Streetscape improvements, which is from Joan Jefferson to Colorado. So we hope to address some of the safety issues that were brought up today through that project. Shipman Neighborhood Drainage Improvements. We applied for the grant for that project in 2023, so we're waiting for the state to review our application, and hopefully we should get an approval in the next couple of months for that project. Gateway signages, traffic control box wraps, Oleander Park improvements, and Riverside Park Neighborhood Improvement Project, which is just north of the Old Bridge. That's in construction right now. And most recently, the board approved the Memorial Park Phase 4 improvements. Some of the projects that I would like to discuss with the board today, and it's come up over the years, I would like some direction from the board as to what projects you want to initiate, how to prioritize these projects. So we're looking for direction to help us prioritize for the next 3 to 5 years. We received TIF revenue of about $6.3 million in fiscal year 2025. We expect to receive about the same, between $6.5 to $7 million in the next fiscal year. So we do have some operating expenses and some ongoing expenses every year. So we'll have about $3 million in funding available next year for redevelopment projects, and we have about $3 million in fund balance right now. So staff will be looking for direction how to appropriate those funds for projects. Stewart Main Street, Osceola Street extension concept. This was developed through Main Street from St. Lucie Avenue to Flagler Park to provide connectivity and expanding the downtown. I think there's a missed opportunity here because over all these years, there are a lot of people that don't even go past St. Lucie Avenue, and we have 2 historic buildings and a beautiful waterfront that is underutilized. So this would be a great project to pursue, which is an extension of Osceola Street. Also, I think board member Mark Breckville brought up some pop-up that we had envisioned as part of the Osceola Street extension project. City Hall redevelopment, we've heard this many times. So as you know, that some of our city departments have already relocated to Wells Fargo building. So staff would like to understand board's vision as to how this site will get redeveloped. In the past, Lucido and Associate prepared a conceptual plan with redevelopment along Flagler and expanding Flagler Park on the waterfront. Here's a little bit of a close-up picture. We can have some storefront along Flagler Avenue to activate the area, and family-friendly waterfront park in the back of the property. And as you can see, that the Osceola Street extension is also shown in this conceptual. It will allow us to do the pop-up, some businesses to take advantage around this park. And that's something that was initiated by Main Street.
Looks great, minus the hotel.
Yes, that's why I didn't mention hotel. I said storefront. So downtown parking garage, there have been many discussions about downtown parking garage. One of the potential location is the Sailfish surface lot, which is about 0.7 acres. Currently, the surface parking lot has 67 parking spaces. The proposed 3-story parking garage could provide approximately 200 parking spaces. So there would be an increase of 133 new parking spaces if we were to redevelop this from surface parking to 3-story parking garage. Another potential location that we could consider for parking garage is just east of Haney Circle. We have a surface parking lot on Osceola that the city owns. We would need to acquire the adjacent parcel where Acacia Lodge is located to develop a new parking garage. This is just another option to consider, but staff would really like to hear from the board and if the board wants to even pursue parking garage in downtown. This is a map that I created a few years ago with anticipation that we would continue the extension of undergrounding project where we still have wooden poles. Because once FP&L hardens these poles, it makes it very difficult and very expensive to go underground. The board could consider continuing undergrounding of overhead utilities just east of our existing project or in the Triangle District. These areas are an extension of our downtown. So here are like some of the current conditions. As you can see, these poles are placed in the middle of the sidewalk, constraining the width of the sidewalk for pedestrians, and it makes it very uncomfortable and unsafe. So in the future, even if we don't do streetscape improvements, if we do the undergrounding project, then in the future, planners can redesign the street and provide wider sidewalk and shade trees for better pedestrian experience, which is all the things that we talked about earlier in the meeting today. This is streetscape improvements along Southwest Ocean Boulevard from Federal Highway and Dixie Highway. This is one of the projects that is recommended in the Triangle District Master Plan. We've already implemented a couple of projects that were recommended in the Triangle District District Master Plan, including the Dixie Highway improvements from Joan Jefferson to Colorado. We received funding for that, so that's in the design phase, and the alleyway improvements behind the AT&T building. So this would be the third project that we could initiate in the Triangle District, which would include wider sidewalk, on-street parking, crosswalks, streetlights, potentially undergrounding the overhead utilities, landscaping, and address all the safety issues. Another project to consider is improvement to the 10th Street Community Center and Recreation Center. Since all the after-school programs have moved to Boys and Girls Club, the space in the community center can be reconfigured for events and new programming and increased participation. This would work really well and complement the Guy Davis Community Park improvements and provide additional amenities and services to our community.
Panal, is that included already in the Guy Davis Park project?
No.
10th Street would have something happen to it?
No.
No? That building is not?
No. Bayou Pedestrian Bridge, this is another project that's identified in the East Stewart Master Plan. Currently, the residents have to, if they want to go to the hospital or Ocean Boulevard, they have to go to either Georgia Avenue or Cortez Avenue. It just makes it more difficult to access to those areas without a vehicle. So pedestrian bridge would be a great benefit, and it would provide connectivity, walkability, bikeability, reduce vehicular traffic on MLK, Georgia Avenue, and Cortez. There is a grant available for this project. So if the board is interested, I could pursue this grant. The deadline is March 5th, so that's something I would be looking for direction from the board. Another interest, if there's an interest for affordable housing in our community, the maintenance facility site usually comes up. It's on MLK and Georgia Avenue. If we want to pursue this, we could do a RFP with very specific requirements so we can control how it gets developed in terms of density and intensity. We can bring more housing options for our residents and younger demographics who wants to move back home.
You didn't really capture it very well on that picture on the bottom right compared to what we've seen in the past with
Yes.
the 4-story.
Yeah, this is more like townhomes, single family.
Above Starbucks. That's not quite what's going to be there, I'd imagine. With that
Well,
type of
that's why we
project.
would do RFP if there's an interest and we can really control.
Just an AI thing, so that's better. Some
That's
of
from the
AIs
Treasure
come
Coast
out
Regional
on
Planning
national.
Master Plan.
Yes, it is.
Nothing.
Quiet zones. We have 4 locations within the CRA that we could apply for Federal Railway Administration for quiet zones. It includes the Confusion Corner, Florida and Dixie, MLK and Dixie, and Fern and Dixie. We'll need to prepare engineering drawings detailing all the safety improvements that exceed the level of safety for all these crossings. If we are to get rid of the horns, we want to make sure that it doesn't increase the risk of accidents. So we want to comply with the FRA safety standards and guidelines. But this is something that we would have to design and apply.
Mike, can we do that without the county's
No.
Well, the
participation?
city's intersections did not meet the quiet zones in their current status. We've met multiple times with Captech Engineering and with the FRA representative as it relates to intersection improvements that would need to be done in order for the city to comply on its own. We're still moving forward on some of the design aspects of it, but very minimal. If you remember, we had the Dixie Highway improvements that we were talking about, and that the CRA kind of said to leave it the way it was. But following that, I still talked to Captech about designing an additional gate at Confusion Corner, and also going with what Mr. Brickba was talking about earlier, is some conversations as it related to the traffic going around Sailfish Circle. I have Joe Capper looking into it, but it seemed pretty simple that there's timers on those trains and the gates go down based upon the distance the train is away. If you had a small traffic signal light that made the northbound traffic on Dixie Highway get a red light so that they couldn't enter Sailfish Circle if the train was 1 minute away or whatever it is before the gates go down, stopping those cars so that those cars that Mark was referencing trying to get out of downtown would then have an open path to clear the intersection. And then once the gate went down, obviously that light could turn green again because it wouldn't matter while the gate was down, the cars could continue to flow. He hasn't gotten back with the design on anything like that, but we have been talking about it. And I think if we did those and a couple of things to Fern, that we would probably score well enough to get quiet zones.
Do they have
But
some kind of liaison that you can talk to
we have a representative from FRA that we can talk to, but it's
Right.
just a matter of, they say, you want it, I was getting ready to the point, even if we got the quiet zone qualification,
Right.
it's really been Peter and Milton in my conversation that that's kind of the least of our concern. It's really about the safety aspect of it and what is going to make these crossings safe for pedestrians, bikes, and cars.
Especially if no one hears them coming.
Right.
Right.
Well, they hear them coming anyway. In fact, I was put to a challenge several years ago to find a case where the train horn would have prevented the train accident. And we were unable to find that because in most cases, in fact, so far it's been 100% of the Brightline cases, it has been not the train's fault. Someone's either been trespassing or someone, like recently, there was the fire truck that went around the gate, which is as amazing as it sounds. We all have found ourselves in things going, God, I can't believe I did that, or why did I do that after the fact? And it clearly happens fairly common in this circumstance with the train. So without trying to say it's one person's fault or another, the fact is, human nature is that people have accidents, and so we got to do what we can to make it safe.
You know, Mike, we were talking about that signal, and you hit it right on the head, but the other thing is, there's no reason why there couldn't be a signal right at the start, at the end of Joan Jefferson, before the circle, to just stop that traffic temporarily. And then you wouldn't have the congestion in the circle.
When do you stop it?
As soon as that signal is triggered. I mean, it's a minute, so as soon as that signal is
So
triggered.
what we've found is that every day between 4 and 6 p.m., what happens is people are funneling through downtown and funneling out. And as the people go across the tracks, the people going north on Dixie have the right-of-way into the traffic
Right.
circle, and they never let up because they're coming from Confusion Corner.
Right.
And as a result, 3 cars get stacked up on the tracks, and it can be 3, 4, 5 minutes before one gets out, and then another car stacks up, and the only way to prevent them from going in would be to have them sitting on Flagler Avenue, waiting to go over the tracks until an opening happened in the circle, which by the time they got up to the circle, that opening would be gone because another car would be there and then they're stuck on the tracks. But I know what you're talking about, but we've looked into it and it's a complicated maneuver because of the width.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I understand what you're talking about there, but if at the other end of the circle, you can leave the circle, but you can't come in for a minute, it would stop the traffic coming in from Joan Jefferson. And then that would allow the traffic to get out. There wouldn't be any traffic in the circle at that point.
Mr. Breckle, we could talk about this.
I know, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
it is a
okay.
okay.
Yeah, so the design is there,
And
right.
I think you failed to answer Board Member Collins' question about, it's the county, in fact, who has to apply for the quiet zones.
As we sit here right now, the county would need to apply for quiet zones, or we would need to apply for quiet zones with the county in order for us to qualify, absent making safety improvements to our intersection or crossing.
Thank you.
I just have one more. Another item that has come up is the underground refuse system in downtown. This is something our previous Public Works Director was really interested in, Dave Peters, in implementing this in downtown. And it was recently brought up by Board Member Mark Breckville. So I wanted to bring this to the entire board and get direction. The benefit of this system is it saves a lot of above-ground space. reduces odor, prevents animal access, and frees up space for parking in downtown because the system is underground. It's currently implemented in City of Kissimmee and Clearwater, and I have a couple of videos that I can show you just so you can understand how it works.
This, neither one, it's underground.
This is a first in the city of the United States, for that matter, in disposing garbage in the city. This is an underground waste container system used all over Europe, but making its debut in the city of Kissimmee. This is state of the art, something right out of the Jetson.
Absolutely. We needed to solve a problem in our downtown area. We have a very compact area, and the dumpsters that have been in use for many, many years just weren't cutting it any longer.
This system is an underground trash container. More than 6 cubic yards of trash can be placed here. That's about 12 to 15 96-gallon cans of trash. It's 11 feet deep in a 5-ton concrete bunker. The container is then lifted by a crane system onto this auto car truck that collects the solid waste, then takes it to the landfill.
It's going to make it aesthetically pleasing to the downtown area. It keeps the smells more enclosed into the system. Keeps out the vermin and pests.
Our desire right now is to cover the downtown area, which is about a 10 square block area. That's our most dense area. The cost is relatively comparable to a traditional dumpster setup.
This truck, $475,000, about $14,000 each for the below ground unit and $3,000 for this above ground unit. Partnering with underground refuge systems, the future is now. And the system has a key to curtail any illegal dumping. In Osceola County, Gail Pascal Brown, West 2 News.
And just another short video for Clearwater.
These trash receptacles are pretty unique. Here, take a look for yourself. They look like average trash cans, but while they're the average size, underneath them is actually a 12-foot vault. And Clearwater is only the second place in the entire country to have this trash system.
It's aesthetically pleasing. It looks a lot better than what we had before. It's enclosed. That's the big closed container where the wind doesn't blow the trash all over it, birds or boats don't get into it, and we don't have to keep coming out here to clean up the sand. Have containers. So,
Earl Gloucester is the director of solid waste and says trash receptacles are really cutting edge. There are two, one for trash, one for recycling, and everything is kept underground until crews with a special truck come each day to empty the vault. Right now, there are 3 of these underground refuse systems along Clearwater, and there will be 7 total in the first phase. Trash won't be able to blow away onto the sand, and seagulls can't get into these. Gloucester says with more and more people visiting each year, these trash cans will be key in making sure Clearwater Beach always lives up to its reputation of being one of the best.
we're doing everything we can for the environment. So the less environmental impact itself, with the numbers that we have, our numbers are increasing here. This is going to help us stay at the forefront of
These new trash.
Sorry, that wasn't working very clearly, but what I'm looking for now is I presented all the different projects that that staff has heard over the years and wants the board to help staff prioritize these projects and make any other recommendation that staff can implement in the next 3 to 5 years.
So may I have my card up?
Board Member Clark.
Miss.
Andy
No,
Savdas.
what is it?
Thank you, Pinal.
Gandhi Savdas, okay. So, I've only been making that mistake forever. Yeah, I know. And I actually talk to Pinal most of the times. So, you heard Ms. Mosier's comment, and I know that we had a former commissioner who had started the, tree planting idea, and I think that was CRA funds. And I just wanted to hear about the success of that tree planting idea. I know that Commissioner Joby had mentioned, well, what does it take to do something when you have an idea. I know that that ended up with people, the city going in for 90 days and watering the plants. And then there was even the commercial area when people had applied for grants. Some of them had to put in a system or whatever just to keep the plants going. And so I just wanted to know if we still have that. We had like an area of, I don't know if you'd call it a tree desert, but an area where the shade factor was very low and the heat factor was very high. And we're trying to get some more trees planted in certain neighborhoods. I didn't see that on this plan, on this proposed plan. And I'm hoping that these are just new ideas, but all the other things that we've done with the businesses before and the paint up program and those kind of things, I hope that they're there. And while I'm on the floor, I'm just gonna say what I think my few ideas are. I'm glad that you did have, finishing up the Martin Luther King Boulevard. I want to make sure that that goes up sometime soon after 2026, or so that as soon as we get some other things done in the East Stewart area, we'll have that coming on board, because we do need to get that, and it's also a part of that walkability idea. The other thing is that I didn't see, and I know that people have brought this up and asked about it in terms of economic redevelopment, and we have Project Lift coming in. If we could do some type of a business hub incubator or something in that area. And like I said, it doesn't have to be now, but just an idea for the CRA to look into and maybe bring back in the future for ideas. But like I said, to add to the project for upcoming planning and budgeting, definitely MLK Boulevard. That pedestrian bridge I think is gonna be crucial for young people who may not be able to cross through the Boys and Girls Club property, or even adults to cross through there, that it'd be good to have a cross through from High School Avenue, somewhere in that area that's safe to cross through on the Bayou Bridge. And of course, anything to do with walkability, downtown, anywhere, and connectivity is always good. I know that we've been asking developers to go more than 6 feet if they can help with something to do with the sidewalk. We're also working on any city sidewalks that we have. If I know that Martin Luther King Boulevard is probably gonna constrain some of the sidewalk there, because it's already constrained and we can't get it any wider for sidewalks. But if we can get wider sidewalks, we've been asking and we've been working on those. And then the other thing, which is the elephant in the room, every time we decide how to spend our money and what to do with the monies that we're collecting within the CRA area, I think we need to bite the bullet and look seriously at what we're gonna do with the city garage property when things move, and honestly work with, as a sample of trying to live up to what our ideals are in the comprehensive plan and what the needs are for our community, to try to come up with something that's affordable housing. Now, it may not be affordable to all, but it will be some type of an example of something that can work downtown and that can help with redevelopment that is compatible with the single family and multifamily that's already existing in certain areas of our community. So, and I like Laura's idea of trying to encourage businesses to locate in the downtown that are, gonna help with. We've been asked before by private companies to come in and to do the bike rental and the Segway rental. And I think we voted against some of those plans maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. But if some of those businesses come in again, maybe we can find a way to work with them. But I think that if we're gonna do something that's gonna accommodate people when they come here and make it easy to walk around, then we need to encourage ways to support those businesses when they wanna come into our CRA area. those are just my little comments for right now, and you don't have to respond to them, just take notes, whatever. Do we have to give you a list of things that you have to go back and include and bring back that plan for us for next 2025 as
You have to
soon?
decide how we were going to proceed.
Okay, all right. I was just gonna ask Pinal and Mike what
Well,
because they'll come back during regular budget time.
in the CRA directors in my conversation, he's looking for direction from the policymakers as to what the CRA wants. And it'll probably be a subject matter at each one of these quarterly joint meetings to update you if you've given us direction on a project and say this is where we're going. But it's also important to get direction of where you want us to not go.
Right.
So, both sides of that.
Board Member Collins?
So I got a few. If I just go down the menu of what you provided, Pinal, I would say, the trash can thing, if you can find a grant for the truck, because I'd imagine that truck isn't cheap. I don't care what they said up there. In terms of a garage, the more centrally located position for a garage would be this property. It makes the most sense. But my sense is that the average resident, more than seeing a garage or a hotel here, would rather have green space down here. So for me, that Acacia property, if it would be possible to secure it or, start having conversations with them and have that existing parking lot and Acacia Lodge be not a, obviously 4-story, but 2 or 3-story garage would make more sense to me. So you can secure the green space here, which I think is the most valuable thing for this parcel long-term. Though I know in the past we've talked about hotels and big commercial things and fly bridges and extending Osceola and yada, yada. More macro, several many thousand feet up, I would say generally moving away from this, and I've said this to you before, the mode that we've been in terms of investing in these large-scale projects that really drain our overall budget for the CRA, like Brightline or undergrounding. To me, undergrounding represents the antithesis to what I think we should be doing. And not to just be negative, I'll give more context. Instead of burning up all of our capital on undergrounding, just the downtown, we have many more neighborhoods in the city of Stewart than just the downtown, right? So I like the idea of pedestrian bridge and things like this. That makes sense to me and makes it more connective. But moving away from burning $10 million on undergrounding one part and then sort of extending that out to the rest of downtown, I would like to see us, if I had to characterize it, instead of doing these projects that terraform or make large-scale changes, it seems like in the 3 years, 2.5 years, whatever I've been here, whenever we go to augment a neighborhood, nobody's happy. I've sat through those meetings where we're trying to do a complete street there, and nobody's happy. Everybody's got an issue. So my general sense would be that the average human being here would like you to address blight, not by augmenting it, but making it nice. So resurface the roads, put in new sidewalks. If there's a way to make them wider without, taking somebody's front yard. If there's an opportunity to make some drainage changes, especially where there's flooding, these kind of things. But swapping things around, moving things, trying to do complete streets if it's going to take somebody's right of way. Like, I would be incredibly upset if you took my fruit trees away. So this kind of a thing, I think, frustrates people. And after a lot of engineering and planning and money burned, you get a room full of people who are saying, just leave my street alone. Stop. So in terms of, so I don't know if that comes across as clear, but add shade trees, make sidewalks, wider, whatever, make things nice and new without dramatically augmenting, and spread it across the city, not just downtown, not just in one area, but not the city, but the CRA. Spread it across the CRA.
Right. We're just talking about the CRA.
Correct. Spread it across the CRA. Okay, now this one's spicy, but with affordable housing, because I have a lot of frustration with what I perceive to be the plan for East Stewart over the years. And it's referenced here with the East Stewart Master Plan, right? The 2004 Treasure Coast Regional Planning. When you look at that, it has the entire neighborhood of East Stewart as 2, 3 multi-story mixed-use development. And so, we, on one side of our head, cry that we need affordable housing, and on the other side, from 2004 until now, where we approved form-based code, which just went through another round of this, we gentrify the entire neighborhood and turn it into City Place, and then want to stuff East Stewart into apartment rentals on that property. This is the bird's eye view that I can see this, which may be inflammatory to some of us, but instead of leaving this, neighborhood alone, this East Stewart master plan does that. It's all Starbucks, and then upstairs is fancy apartments, ostensibly a Brightline village. And then we're going to take all the people who live in that neighborhood, and either they have to find somewhere else to live, or they can live in these low-income apartments that we put on the city garage. So I think the better thing to do would be neither of those two things, and just leave a single-family home neighborhood alone. And then, if anything, use this parcel that we have that's adjacent to a park, move that garage property over to the water treatment area, and let that be green space. It doesn't necessarily have to be formal park, but for me, I would not want to see that turn into some, 4-story low-income apartments, because I do not believe that, people renting is a way to really address affordable housing either. Property ownership and home ownership is the real way to hedge in these situations. But with that, I'll retire my
Thank you.
comments.
Board Member Giobbe.
Thank you. I liked many of the items on the proposal. The one thing I had an issue with, under utilities, the only thing addressed were the underground. And what happens in the past, I'd like not to happen in the future. You have a great 5-year plan. We're trying to clean the river, and you want to put things on the river to add to that. That's number one. We have beautifying everything, kind of what you see, but then we have flooding, because we're not taking care of infrastructure before the developments are done, which is what we've done in the past. We develop, then we decide, oh, this doesn't work, it's flooding, let's fix it now. It's more expensive to do it that way, the after fact. So let's address that. The thing I want to address is that back in July of 2024, a consulting firm informed the city that we have wells that are dying. They need the city water supply, the wells are dying, they need to be replaced. And it would be a cost over a decade, $66.3 million. There were 3 other more expensive options that were $97.1 million. The city has 2 water supplies. And we need to address that before we start building and adding and doing all of that. This needs to be done first. So what I'm suggesting, and I do understand that some of the monies for this would come from that court case that the city won money from, and I understand that. But I think these things need to be addressed too before we start putting a shovel in the ground all over the city.
It would be illegal for us to use the CRA funds on the water plant.
Can't use it for that.
Because they're not in the CRA and they go for the whole city.
Well, that's fine, but we can address it as
Well, I mean, sure, we could talk about it, but
Right.
the agenda item being the CRA funds.
Okay, so then,
Can't spend money on that.
okay, but all I'm saying is just, again, a general statement, which is, let's fix this if we have to use other monies, but let's get this done before we start re-improving neighborhoods they can't support the water, they can't support the flooding. That needs to be done first. Let's get it right this time. Let's not do the building first and then worry about how it all floods and doesn't flow. That's all I'm asking, and I do agree with Commissioner Collins that we need to do smaller projects rather than this whole overview of just the downtown.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here, and as Mr. Martell points out, that's a good assignment for the commission, your fellow commissioners, but that's not the purview of this. This is a very brief action item, but this is an enormous topic. I mean, if you look at, here's the list, Osceola Street, City Hall, downtown, and she didn't even include the project that she has in there, and I would urge you all to go through this submission. It starts on page 44 and goes to page 110, and it's really a terrific presentation. We worked with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. That just deals with the Triangle District. You guys and women could easily spend just 2 meetings on that one single item. So if there's no objection, I'd like to bring this meeting to a conclusion and ask the CRB if they could make very specific recommendations to us. I see you, Suzanne. But do we really want to get into this in depth at 5:30? And I don't know how much progress we can really make on it.
Maybe see if Commissioner Reed had any comments.
It's a lot.
I think
It's a
the
lot.
intention has been met. I mean, what the CRA wanted to do is introduce it to the board,
Yeah.
hear from the boards, have this discussion so that we can get everybody thinking about it. And as we have these joint board meetings as they come back, we'll continue to progress forward. Obviously.
But they can progress on their own.
But then as Commissioner Clark pointed out, there are already projects in the CRA
Right.
that are going on. So the director was just saying, hey, guys, if you have any projects or you have a direction you want us to go for, here's your opportunity. Be thinking about it and let us know. So
Mayor
that we-
Rich?
I mean,
Right.
our agendas are,
Mayor Rich?
I'm sorry.
I was
Let
gonna-
me finish.
oh,
Our agendas are a little light, and I think we could, just as the commission, speak about what our priorities are for the CRA as well. And then at our next meeting, they'll have an idea of what's important, and, you know, it's very difficult on such a large topic to come to some consensus.
While we have these luminaries here, should we not
Right.
You wanna
potentially
That-
pick their brain on
next
this?
meeting?
I have a
Mayor
card up, and
Rich.
so does Mark.
Mayor Rich, I just had a comment. One of the things I'd like to accomplish at the CRB going forward is we do have a lot of new members, and I wanted to create some workshop dates for us to go over some of these items, because we can't get caught up in a 1-hour session or whatever. And so what I was hoping is that we would, you know, in our next meeting, maybe we'd set a few dates and open to the public, and we would talk about a couple of these issues when we got time, and we can get public comment, and then that'll help with what you guys are looking to do.
Okay, I have a card up.
I really urge you to go through that packet and understand. Commissioner, Board Member Moser.
Yeah, throw the water bottle at his head.
No, that's okay.
Okay, well, you keep calling everyone else except me.
Oh, do you want to go first, Commissioner?
No, go ahead, great. It's not your call, it's his to call, but I'm just noting to him that I've had the card up. That's all.
Okay, I just wanted to note, it sounds like we've got some discussing to do, and hopefully within that discussion, we can talk about our trees and crossings, intersections, safety improvements, beautification improvements. I did just want to say one thing, because I don't want to scare people in thinking that if we're talking about complete streets or streetscape improvements, I would never, as a professional, recommend taking right-of-way from people or expanding right-of-way. And I don't think any good firm that you hire, they would ideally be from out of town so that they can come at this from a neutral point of view, would try to propose doing something like that. One, it's expensive. Two, it does make people very angry. And three, it just doesn't end up being productive. And I think that if we're looking at things like this, we need to make sure that we're not making people mad. And the ways that we do that, the ways we make them mad are, one, having poor outreach, two, having poor community engagement, and three, making people feel like they don't have a voice, especially on their street. And so, just something to note, you guys, I think, get to be involved in hiring whoever you get to hire. So, if we do streetscape improvements, just make sure you're picking the right people who are gonna actually engage with your community and give them what they want and not what they don't want.
Board Member Joby.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All I wanted to say was, I thought the purpose of this meeting was for, especially the new board members, to hear what the commissioners' views are. We can't reach out to them, we can't talk to them, this is the venue in which to do it. but you can certainly, you're the mayor, you can decide to have them meet, and then we'll just have extra meetings to meet with them so they can hear our views. Thank you.
Board Member McChrystal.
I'm awake now. I've recovered from my grueling Canner Highway trip from Indiantown. So here I am, Mr. Glass half empty, as usual. So I guess I just randomly put these things down. And it's all general stuff. I'll be done in a minute, okay? The garage, what's it called? The garage for the city maintenance. It's in the perfect place. It's surrounded on 3 sides by non-residential stuff. And then there's a street, and across the street, there's a few residences, I'm sure. But to find another place in the city for that, yeah, good luck to that. And I'd like to say no to any cutting-edge new technology, as good as those trash cans looked. Anything that we're going to spend money on, we don't have to be first and so progressive and be, you know, we're on the cutting edge of this stuff, right? We don't have to be. Let's wait 5 years and see what really happens out there at these other cities and stuff like that, all right? Yes, if we're serious about the undergrounding and making the downtown area hurricane-proof for the important part of town, then let's do it. Get it over with, all right? But we got to decide that. How important is that? Because that will eat up all of the funds, all right? And I'm just thinking, has anyone thought maybe how many projects, as far as the Venn diagram thing, how many projects overlap with what exactly is going to happen with when and if the train station and when and if our parking garage for the train station? So how many of these things kind of like, should we do this until we find out about that, right? All right. And last but not least, let's see here. Walkability. It's nothing but a dream, folks. It's nothing but a dream. We live in a place where it's Hades for 9 months out of the year. Nobody wants to walk anywhere. All right? We're not in California. We're not in Carmel Valley. All right? We're just not. And I'm against anything that promotes walkability at the expense of cutting into traffic flow, because we've already got traffic flow issues, and the cars are not going to go away as much as the progressives would like the cars to go away. Thank you very much.
And one more point, and then I swear I'll stop. If undergrounding is so important, maybe downtown should pay for their undergrounding. Has anybody ever considered this? Instead of the CRA at large, if our plan is to underground the whole downtown.
Well, that's why when I did the return on investment, where I showed how much TIF revenue downtown contributes to the CRA, that is their contribution.
But letting them contribute an additional tax or something for downtown undergrounding versus eating up the entire budget for the CRA wide.
Well, the Flagler and
How much do you
Seminole
think that
Streets
would
have
cost
already
to
been
do?
voted on and has moved forward.
Yes.
So we're talking about additional undergrounding.
Heading over
we-
this
right,
way.
Right.
Heading east.
20 million, 30 million, do these whole.
We can do it in segment, doesn't have to be all together. Could be
And the
one
board
block at
obviously
a
can vote not
time.
to.
Right, we haven't seen a proposal on that.
All right, I'll stop.
I think you're being quite clear on that.
Yes.
It's 5.
Mayor, would you? Mayor Rich?
Yes, we have one public comment?
We have 2 public
You
comments.
still
I'd
have
like
2
to-
members, you still have 2 board members waiting to speak.
Mark and I will wait.
Okay, well, let's hear from Board Member Manera.
I just have a quick question. I want to make sure that the new CRB members have access to all this information and to backfill in some of the history and some of you're referencing a lot of long documents and things. I don't know if we all have.
It's all
You have
available.
access to anything you want, you're welcome to reach out to me or to Pinal, and we can give them to you
But
and
he's not
provide you
familiar with how to
direction too.
access. That's a very good point, and that's one reason I was hoping to adjourn here, to provide you the opportunity to get access to this material. 'Cause
All material is available on CRA's webpage, all the plans. But I'd be happy to sit down with them and provide the plans, yes.
Aren't they gonna have their own meeting and choose their own new people?
That's
board
the
and-
CRB meetings, I
Yeah.
think, the first week of February, yeah.
And they'll get all the stuff from Lee on procedures and the clerk and the CRA person. They're gonna,
Happens
it's
every year.
coming, Jeff, it's coming. You're gonna get more than you want.
Oh,
Before we go to the public, Mr. Mayor.
She'll go through.
Yeah, she'll go through it. Walkability. I was thinking, I've asked, when Mr. Emerson was the engineer, and I hope that Mr. Leggett is listening.
Oh, he's listening.
I know that DOT has put in all these arrows on the roads on US 1 and the major roads, and it's all over the state of Florida, just to make sure that people supposedly aren't driving the wrong way and they can see clearly at night. And I've asked to have the white arrow around Confusion Corner and also at Joan Jefferson so that people know exactly where they're supposed to go in a roundabout. But it seems like it's not happening, and I was told, oh, that's nonsensical, people should know where to go. People come there and they just go crazy. Even if they were normal human beings, they go crazy when they come to Confusion Corner. So I'm asking if we can have like a walk safe program in the CRA area where we try to find little notches and niches where people are getting hung up by pedestrian crosswalks or at pedestrian crosswalks and other places where there's more little things that have flashing lights or whatever. Have a whole walk safe program and really push it, and so that the people know to stop and not speed up and all this good stuff. I don't know. All I'm doing, I'm just trying. I have a problem on Palm Beach Road coming out of my little side street onto Palm Beach Road when the Catholic Church is on, when the school is on, when everything is on, okay? And so it's there. I'm not gonna complain because I know everybody has the same traffic issue, but there are ways that we can deal with it. We can deal with it to put things, and I think working on something on the ground at Confusion Corner so people know where the arrow goes, I think it helps the visitors. But I don't know, I just think some kind of a walk-safe program so that everybody in the city knows that we're all friendly, we are walking.
Doesn't sound
And we
friendly.
can do whatever, so.
And whatever signs we put up need to have it on both sides, because the other day, they were coming right at me, so. That's the first time in about 3 months.
One issue that is not on Pinal's list, and this was an offer made to myself, is the city should take over Palm Beach Road.
From the
City
county.
doesn't control Palm Beach Road.
I know,
Any
it's the
changes
county.
we want to make, Board
That would be
Member Clark,
free? No.
I know, Mr. Leggett and I, we know, I know. But I'm saying that.
What?
Right by
Part of
Confusion
it is
Corner,
the
a portion
state.
of it's the city, and then where you get to where on East Ocean, where you see the bike path start, kind of right near, I guess, Alamanda, from there to the beach is the county.
I'm not saying it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Roads are expensive.
Yeah.
Board Member Moser, you have a comment on this?
Palm Beach Road from East Ocean down to Monterey Road is county. No, she was just
But is
asking
the
a
Walk
question.
Safe program a formal program? Is that the thing?
It's just my
All made up.
theme of a theme.
There can
a
be
theme
one.
of walk safe, walk safe.
Two things.
Walk good, walk good.
Two things. The Martin MPO has a new bike ped coordinator, and I bet she would love to be involved in a program like that. And secondly, I have been complaining to the county because they do own Palm Beach Road just for the crosswalks right by the elementary school. And they don't really want to do anything. Then they're concerned about coordinating with the city, so it would be easier if we did own that road for us to
We will
take control and
coordinate
do
with
what we
the
want with it.
If you think they're
Not that
giving
we need to make
it.
big changes, just little safety
It's
changes.
an item for consideration, Mr.
Oh,
Martell.
yeah,
It's
that's
not a
gonna be
fait
top of their
accompli.
list.
Special assessment for 10th Street?
It is dangerous for all those children in all those schools. It's true. I think if there's one consensus item, is safety at our intersections.
Praise the Lord,
Both
see?
the traffic intersection.
Safety first.
Yeah, and this newly named program, Walk Safe.
Walk safe, walk good,
Walk fast.
Talk fast.
So, unless there is an objection, I am going to.
There was public comment.
City
Oh, I'm
clerk.
sorry, public comment.
City clerk.
Let's hear those.
Mr. Robert Hamilton?
Good evening. I want to welcome you. I forgot to do that before. I apologize. But I also want to invite separately each and every one of you to come by the church on 3rd Street and see exactly what happens when one of these programs goes wrong and you're victimized and it's destroyed and damaged. Now, we are trying to get it worked out. We're in the process of doing that. But when you have oversight in place and it's not used, all of you here are in a position to use that oversight correctly. There's a lot of tax dollars at stake. There's litigation at stake. There's more litigation coming unnecessarily. Shouldn't have been done. The oversight should have been enforced. I say that for everybody to keep cognitive of that when you're making decisions. But come by the church separately and talk to Olga. We know what it's like to be victimized. Ms. Hall knows what it's like to be victimized. We've all been there. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Hamilton.
And Ms. Gail Goldie?
Good evening, commissioners and board members. A couple of things I just wanted to touch on. The Trail Town, I think it's wonderful. I think you're looking at a lot of nice things to do. And my main concern with the Trail Town is the biking lanes. There's a lot of things going on with biking. We're talking about adding bike lanes and widening sidewalks and such. And there was rumble strips put in on Hutchinson Island in the biking lanes. Several accidents have already happened. And I think that this was done without much input from the bicycle groups. There is the Treasure Coast Cycling Association that I would hope that if you do anything with the biking lanes or anything at all like that, that you would involve the public so that they, if they're bikers, because they know. I was at a charrette that we had here, and I believe it was regarding Palm City Road, and they were talking about all the different configurations for possibly for Palm City Road. And in talking with the group that we hired to make the presentation for all the different possibilities for Palm City Road, when I approached the woman who was on the committee from the company that we hired, I asked her if she was a biker, and she said no, she was not a biker. So it just boggles my mind that you can have people on these committees that don't partake about what they're there to be talking about and making recommendations for. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the Eula Clark brought up a comment about the Confusion Corner, which we all know Confusion Corner is a huge problem for a lot of people. And I just have a suggestion that I think it's possible that maybe we could put in all of the yield signs that are going around Confusion Corner, maybe have them flashing, because 99% of the drivers have no idea what yield means when you enter an intersection. So I think that that could possibly be something to add to the safety. And that's it. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it, Susie?
That's all, Mayor.
So, I'm calling this meeting adjourned. Thank you all. And we will reconvene the regular city commission meeting in 15 minutes at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr.